3, 2, 1.
031 piece. A violent orange flash rips through the darkness of the Iranian desert. Before the roar of the engines even reaches the ears of the launch crew, 3 heavy-duty ballistic missiles are already screaming into the upper atmosphere. These aren't just any rockets. These are the IRGC's carrier killers, specifically designed to punch through the deck of a U.S. aircraft carrier and send 5,000 sailors to the bottom of the Arabian Sea. They are arching high, accelerating to over 3,800 miles per hour, heading straight for a heat signature that looks exactly like the USS Abraham Lincoln. While the world sleeps, a high-stakes hunt is unfolding in the sky. The IRGC claims they've finally done it. They've struck the pride of the American fleet, but they are about to find out that launching a missile is the easy part. Successfully hitting a target protected by the most advanced integrated warfare system ever built is a different story. The clock is ticking. In less than 8 minutes, those warheads will re-enter the atmosphere. If the U.S. Navy's kill chain fails, even once the headlines tomorrow will change the world forever. The defense of the Abraham Lincoln didn't start on the ship. It started 22,000 miles above the Earth. A U.S. Space Force satellite equipped with infrared sensors so sensitive they can detect a campfire in a forest picked up the bloom of the Iranian rocket motors the second they ignited. This wasn't a slow report moving through a chain of command. The data hit the system of systems instantly within the Combat Information Center of the Lincoln. The routine hum of the night shift is shattered. The tactical action officer sees the jagged red symbols appear on the main display. The satellite has already calculated the trajectory. The track is live. This signal doesn't just sit on one ship. It is shared via Link 16 with the entire strike group. The destroyers USS Spruant and USS Stockdale flanking the carrier have their Aegis radar systems already suing toward the threat. They aren't searching the sky anymore. They are staring exactly where the missiles will appear as they crest their arc. This is the first link in the kill chain seeing the punch before the opponent even finishes throwing it. But the Iranians aren't just firing 3 missiles. They know the U.S. Navy is good. So they launch the swarm at 0400 while the ballistic missiles are in the vacuum of space. Dozens of low-cost suicide drones are launched from fast attack boats and coastal trailers. These drones move slowly, maybe 120 miles per hour, but they are designed to clutter the radar screens. The goal here is saturation. The IRGC wants to force the American sailors to make a choice. Do you focus on the hypersonic killers falling from space? Or do you deal with the 50 drones buzzing toward your hull at sea level? It's a classic tactical trap designed to overwhelm the processing power of a normal Navy. But the U.S. Navy doesn't use normal systems. The Aegis computers are capable of tracking over 100 targets, simultaneously prioritizing them based on time to impact. Inside the Spruant, the TO isn't sweating. He's looking at a prioritized list. The computer has already tagged the drones as low priority and the ballistic missiles as imminent threats. The deck of the destroyer suddenly erupts. The vertical launch system cells fly open and the first SM-3 interceptors are away. Each of these missiles costs about $11 million, and they are worth every penny. They are heading for the edge of space, leaving the atmosphere behind to meet the Iranian missiles in the silence of the vacuum. This is the most intense part of the fight. The Iranian missiles are at the peak of their flight, coasting through the vacuum before they begin their terrifying dive. The SM-3 interceptors are screaming toward them at over 6,000 miles per hour. There is no explosive warhead on the SM-3. It doesn't need one. It uses a kinetic kill vehicle. Imagine 2 high-speed trains colliding head-on at thousands of miles per hour. That is what's about to happen. The kill vehicle uses tiny thrusters to line itself up. It doesn't just hit the missile, it vaporizes it on impact. The kinetic energy alone is enough to turn an Iranian warhead into a cloud of harmless dust. On the radar screens in the CIC, the first 2 red dots blink out. But there's a problem. One of the missiles has a slightly different flight path. It's a leaker, the SM-3 missed. Maybe the guidance was off, or maybe the Iranian missile performed a mid-course maneuver. Now the warhead is re-entering the atmosphere. It's glowing red-hot, surrounded by plasma diving at a 70 degrees angle directly toward the Abraham Lincoln's flight deck. The time to impact is now less than 90 seconds. While the destroyers are fighting the space war, the Lincoln's flight deck has turned into a scene of controlled chaos. Two Fa-18E Super Hornets are shot off the catapults into the pitch-black night. Their job isn't the ballistic missiles, it's the drones and the blinding mission. At 1,000, an EA-18G Growler follows them. This is the most dangerous plane in the sky for the Iranians. The Growler activates its ALQ-99 jamming pods. It's not just making noise, it's surgical. It targets the specific frequencies the Iranian drones use to talk to their ground stations. It targets the radar seekers on any incoming cruise missiles. Suddenly, the Iranian swarm loses its mind. Drones that were supposed to be heading for the Lincoln start flying in circles. Their GPS signals are scrambled. Some simply nosedive into the water. The Growler creates an invisible wall of electronic static that effectively unplugs the Iranian attack. This is the satisfaction of efficiency. Without a single missile being fired from the carrier, half of the Iranian strike force has just been deleted from the battlefield. We are down to the final minute. The Leaker ballistic missile is 3 miles out, falling at Mach 5, nearly 3,800 miles per hour. The Lincoln's escort destroyer, the USS Spruant, switches to its last resort missile, the SM-6. This is the Swiss Army knife of the Navy. It's designed to hit targets that are already inside the atmosphere. Maneuvering through the thick air, the SM-6 has its own active radar seeker. It doesn't need the ship to paint the target anymore. It's a fire-and-forget killer. The destroyer launches too. The first one misses as the Iranian missile makes a desperate terminal maneuver. The second one doesn't. It clips the tail of the warhead, causing it to tumble and explode 2 miles away from the carrier. The shock wave rattles the windows of the Lincoln's bridge, but the hull is untouched. Just in case the failing CIWS, the Closian weapon system on the side of the carrier, slew its 20mm Gatling gun toward the debris. The sailors call it R2-D2 with a gun, and it's a terrifying piece of tech. It fires 4,500 rounds per minute. It wakes up on its own locks onto the falling fragments of the destroyed missile and lets out a burst that sounds like a giant zipper being pulled. A wall of tungsten bullets shreds the remaining debris into pieces the size of coins. The threat is over. Back in Thran, the IRGC is already releasing exclusive footage. They show a blurry video of a rocket launch and then a stock clip of an explosion at sea. They claim the Abraham Lincoln is burning. They claim they've killed hundreds of Zionist-backed Americans. But on the Lincoln, the sailors are heading to the MES deck for breakfast. There isn't a single scratch on the carrier. The U.S. Navy doesn't just win the physical fight, they win the technical one. The lessons learned from this engagement are clear. Quantity does not beat quality when the quality is worked. The Iranians spent tens of millions of dollars on this strike. They used their best missiles and their most coordinated drone swarm. And the result, they didn't even force the carrier to change its course. This is the enemy's helplessness. When you realize your most powerful weapons are effectively useless against your opponent's routine defenses, the psychological impact is devastating. The U.S. Navy didn't just survive an attack. They proved that the Iranian missile program is a paper tiger when faced with the Aegis shield. Why did the U.S. Navy win? And it's easy to credit the 13 billion carrier or the 11 million missiles. But the real reason is the 22-year-old sailor in the CIC. These operators didn't panic. They've done this 10,000 times in simulators. They know that the Aegis system is an extension of their own eyes. The U.S. Navy's culture of professionalism is the final link in the kill chain. 1,800. While the Iranian launch crews were likely shouting and celebrating the moment the missiles left the rails, the American TO was calmly confirming the kill and resetting the system for the next wave. There is a satisfaction in this level of efficiency. The gratification of seeing a complex plan executed perfectly with zero margin for error. This professionalism is what protects the big picture. The Abraham Lincoln guarantees that the Strait of Hormuz stays open. It guarantees that 15% of the world's trade doesn't get cut off by a regional bully. When the Lincoln deflects an attack like this, it is literally keeping the global economy from a tailspin. People often ask about the economics. Is it worth spending $50 million in interceptors to stop a few Iranian missiles? The answer is the ROI, the return on investment. A Nimitz-class carrier like the Lincoln costs about $13 billion to build. The 80 aircraft on its deck are worth another $6 billion. The 5,000 lives on board priceless. Spending $50 million to save $19 billion and 5,000 lives is the best trade in history. It's a 38,000% return on investment. Even the best Wall Street hedge fund can't give you a return like that. But the real cost is for Iran. They just showed the world their best ace in the hole, and it was swatted away like a fly. Their strategic deterrence just evaporated in 15 minutes. The system of systems is why the U.S. Navy remains the undisputed master of the ocean. It's not just the ship. It's the satellite, the Hawkeye, the Growler, the destroyer, and the submarine all talking to each other in a language of pure data. No other military possesses this level of cooperative engagement capability. This is the rule of the game. If you can't talk to your allies faster than the enemy can fire their bullets, you've already lost. Every second of this engagement was tracked by international analysts, because the balance of power in the Middle East depends on the Lincoln being invulnerable. If that carrier blinks, the world's energy supply is at risk. But the Lincoln didn't blink. It stayed on station, continued flight operations. It proved that in modern warfare, the speed of information is the ultimate weapon. The Iranians claimed a hit. The IRGC claimed victory. But as the sun rose over the Arabian Sea, the only things in the water were the shredded remains of Iranian drones and the cooling fragments of their carrier killer missiles. The U.S. Navy didn't need to issue a press release to answer throne. They just kept the catapults firing. This is the reality of being a superpower. You don't have to shout when you have the God's eye and a wall of tungsten bullets. The Lincoln is still standing watch, and as long as she is, the rules of the ocean remain the same. If you want to see more second-by-second breakdowns of how the U.S. military uses the system of systems to neutralize the world's most dangerous threats, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. We're going to keep decoding the technology and the tactics that define the front lines. The situation described in this video is a technical and tactical analysis based on reports regarding claims of missile attacks against the USS Abraham Lincoln. While based on real-world military assets, technical specifications, and regional tensions, the specific tactical developments and engagement sequences are hypothetical dramatizations used to illustrate U.S. naval capabilities, doctrine, and defensive systems. Until next time, stay sharp and keep your eyes on the horizon. The Navy certainly is. Bye for now.